Hi everyone. So we're going to show the demo of the installer that Amar talked about. So, but before getting to the demo, let me just give a little bit of introduction of what the problem is, what we're trying to solve, and what we're going to demonstrate. So the problem statement is that despite all the simplifications, what we keep hearing is that it's still very difficult to deploy and use ONAP. So even though OOM provides a very convenient way to deploy using containers, it's still difficult because there are a lot of combinations, a lot of possible ways of deploying it. So, and this happens to be one of the barriers that we have seen for the more widespread use of ONAP. And that's especially true for those who are new to ONAP, both VNF vendors as well as the operators. Now, so what's the solution, right? So we have three ways of making this easier, right? One is we can deploy using some of the automated scripts. Fairly convenient. They give you a lot of flexibility in managing different combinations. There are few manual steps, but it's compared to, let's say, just using the open source version of OOM from the community. This makes it a lot more simpler, right? The second mechanism is a fully automated way of doing the deployment using Ansible playbooks. So at the moment, we are keeping it as internal and it's not documented. So this essentially takes away a few of the manual steps that are there in the first mechanism and makes it fully automated. And the third one, which is what we're going to show in the demo today, is using the GUI-based installer, the Aarna installer. And this is again a fully automated model-driven approach. There is a visual representation of the deployment progress. And as Omar mentioned in the previous presentation, there are few features that we would like to add in the subsequent releases, which are currently not there. For example, the options to upgrade, downgrade, essentially do the entire lifecycle management of ONAP itself. Not the VNFs, but the ONAP itself. Right? And another interface that we would like to provide is also to have a REST interface so that some of these operations can be automated. Now, in the GUI-based approach, which is what we're going to show in the demo today, so essentially, as we talked about, it's deploying it with a GUI, and it's a fully modeled. There is also visual representation of the progress, and also ability to.
Srinam, your voice is going in and out.
Okay. Let me adjust the mic.
Can't hear you right now.
Is that better, Amar?
Yes, much better.
All right. Okay. So yeah. So essentially, also to an ability to look at failures and look at the logs and so on. So these are all the visual tools that are provided by the installer. So some of the goals of the installer, again, I'm not going to go into all the details of this. It supports both bare metal as well as a cloud-based deployment. For example, you can deploy it on GCP. The second point I'd like to mention is the model-driven. Similar to the philosophy of rest of ONAP, itself can be model-driven, where the user can select the type of model, or they can even define the model of how they want the ONAP itself to be deployed. This shows the block diagram of the installer itself. Let me just show the full screen mode. So the installer itself is a set of containers that we have developed as a web interface, and
Hey, your voice is still yeah, going in and out again.
okay, is that better now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. The Ansible scripts essentially are the ones that do all the heavy lifting in terms of deploying it on the server. So this talks about some of the components that are used. Again, I'm not going to go into all the details of all the components, but essentially it's a Docker technology with Nginx, React.js, and Express. Use MongoDB to store the state of the deployment so that the deployment can be upgraded or downgraded for all the LCM operations. So what we're going to show in the demo today is what we call as a very simple model, Model 0. This essentially deploys ONAP on a single server without any HA features. And it assumes that there is already an OpenStack that's installed on the same server. So it's essentially what we call as a all-in-one. And it deploys it as a multi-node cluster. So all the VMs inside the server essentially form the Kubernetes cluster, and the ONAP is deployed on that cluster. So that's the demo that we're going to show today. All right, now with that, so let's switch over to the demo.
Are you sharing? Sriram?
Yeah, I'm going to share it.
Okay.
All right, can you see the screen, Amar?
Yes.
All right. So what we're going to do is first start the installer itself, which is the script that I'm just showing right now. So this starts up the containers, which essentially provide the web interface. So you can see that the containers have started, and it shows the URL where the installer is available. And once you click on the URL, that's the main screen of the installer itself. And that's the dashboard. And as I mentioned, you can do multiple deployments from a single installer instance, which is running on a jump host. So now we're going to start a new deployment that we're going to call it Dublin HPE 26. And you can give the description of the deployment. So as you can see, what the important thing here is the model type. So in this case, we are going to show it, deploy it as a model 0. And then for model 0, it will ask for the relevant information, which is essentially the username, the IP address, and the SSH keys. So these are the minimum parameters required. So essentially what you have done so far now is to kick off the deployment process. And this is all happening on the host that we just gave the details. So you can see the action button here. And that's the one which, once you click on that, essentially it starts up the deployment. So you can see the deployment, the name of the deployment, the description, and the model. And as I mentioned, you can have multiple deployments from this dashboard. And that's pretty much it. That's the only action that you'll have to perform to do the deployment. And now it goes and deploys on the server. We're not going to show all of that because it takes about 45 minutes or so to deploy. So now we can see that the ONAP portal is up on the server where we've deployed it. So one other additional point is that in this particular model, we deploy all the components of ONAP. So we did not allow the user to select only a subset of the components, but there are other models that can be defined where you can support only a subset of the models. All right, so that brings us to the end of the demonstration of the Anode installer.